Hello, Director Shi and professors. My name is Kuei-Han from GCIT 2022 fall semester, and there's a slightly revised of my proposal. So my research topic would be election campaign on social media analyzing political advertisements on Google and Meta in 2022 Taiwan's mayor elections. So I'm going to sum up with my project. So running political ads on social media becomes crucial for political figures nowadays. So specifically for candidates who aim to win the election, and at the same time, online platforms also have established regulations. So I want to explore how candidates' campaign teams organize their political ads in actual campaigns, and also observing if the transparency policies on platforms really work in an actual election. So here comes my motivation. So first comes to my own work experience as an editor, 小编 of Hsinchu County Magistrate. And so personally, I really want to dig more in this territory. And second fact is that it's becoming more normal that political figures in Taiwan began to run their own social media to reach their audience. And for example, 69 of 89 2022 local election candidates have their own Facebook fan page. And especially for those main parties like KMT, DPP, and TPP, they all have their own Facebook fan page. So this is a clear fact. And another fact is that Taiwanese people are used to gaining information from social media nowadays. And also, we know that several controversies are caused by online political ads, such as 2016 presidential election in the US. And to deal with it, Google and Meta have formulated regulation to political contents on their platform. So I'm also curious about how candidates interact with these contexts. So as I mentioned above, we can presume that social media have become the crucial territory for election campaigns in Taiwan. So for the purpose of my capstone, I want to know in detail about how frontline candidates and their campaign teams run political ads with these contexts and how they maximize their effects on promoting themselves. So to better align with practical aspects, I narrowed down the focus of the research to the actual election campaigns, but specifically in the 2022 Taiwan local election. So here comes my research question. So for the first question, did Google and Meta's policies contribute to online political ads transparency in the 2022 Taiwan local election? And for this question, I want to utilize published transparency reports and gaining insight into the transparency of political advertising during actual election campaigns, and understanding which candidates spend the most on Meta and Google platforms during their campaigns and who achieve the maximum advertising benefits. For the second question, how do the advertising policies of Google and Meta reshape the political advertising strategies of the 2022 Taiwan mayoral candidates and their campaign teams? And so for this question, I'm going to interview frontline campaign staff who were responsible for managing political advertisements on social media and gain insight into how Meta and Google advertising policies impact online ad placements and how the best communication outcomes are achieved within this regulation framework. And through interviews, understand whether the staff perceives any shortcomings in the current advertising policies, such as overly strict standards or observation of how maybe their competitors might be dodge or circumventing the regulation. And for the third question, from May 2022 to May 2023, was there any difference in the enforcement of advertising policies by Google and Meta for candidates? And we know that 2022 Taiwan local election was held in November. So the inspiration for this research question stems from the regulation regarding the prohibition of campaign ads during election periods in various countries, including Taiwan. And both Meta and Google have corresponding regulation for political advertising during election periods. So this presents some challenges to frontline staff. Therefore, I aim to observe the first half and second half of the year leading up to the election from the perspective of frontline campaign teams. And through this, I intend to investigate the temporal consistency of social media platform operators, their regulatory measures. So here comes literature review. And in terms of political ads definition, we've got classic one and modern one. So I'll just skip the classic one. And for social media, both Meta and Google maintain an open definition of political advertising. And common factors include content related to election or referendum and content about social issues. And on Meta and Google, the publication of political advertising requires a disclosure of contributors' name or organizations. And additionally, there's some research has indicated that social media plays a crucial role in elections. And in terms of transparency, Professor Lin Zhaozhen also highlighted concerns in her research. And she said that algorithms are closely related to political participants. And under algorithm, different voters can be clearly classified and sold to the political buyers. So after reviewing the existing literature, I want to share my observation about what hasn't been done. Firstly, election campaigns are crucial elements in shaping the regulation of political advertising. So since the implementation of transparency policy, there hasn't been a subsequent study that empirically observes the flow of funds in political ads during election campaign. And additionally, there's the lack of research on how frontline editors operate the content of political ads under the new advertising policies of Meta and Google. And in reviewing the literature, I've also found that existing studies in Taiwan on election advertising primarily focus on presidential or legislative members' election, and mayors they only research on well-known figures such as star mayors like Kuei-Han or Han Kuo-Yu. So there's a gap in systematic research addressing local election, which I aim to address in these studies. So for the research design, my project is designed to proceed with document analysis, in-depth interviews, and content analysis. And in the first phase, I will use Meta Ad Library Report and Google Transparency Report to analyzing how candidates campaigning in Taiwan have promoted political advertising on Meta and Google. And I will attempt to analyze from public information in the actual implementation status of political advertising transparency on the two major platforms during the local election. And during the in-depth interview phase, I will interview frontline workers in political advertising, such as PR professionals or editors serving for candidates. So through these interviews, I will gain insight into the content strategies employed in designing political ads and understand how political actors interact with existing context. So finally, in the phase of content analysis, I will examine the political advertising text provided by the interviews. So in the research design, I guess the professor might be interested in which mayors' teams I plan to interview and potential concerns about whether these teams qualifying for representing. So after discussion with my instructor, we established principles for selecting interviewees. So given the objective constraints, it might be challenging to interview all teams from Taiwan. So we using the basic support division line of the traditional blue and green spectrum, north and south of the Zhuoshui River. So as a foundation, we can select one municipality, 就直辖市, and one city and county election team from each region, and totally 4 interview group.
Okay. Thank you, Kuei-Han.
好，就这样。